CM Dump recently gave the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia a phony, fake apology. Why was it phony, you might ask? Because he played it off like the one time he'd ever disrespected the nation was that infamous tweet roasting The Miz. And he played it off like that was only because he was personally angry with The Miz, like Saudi Arabia was just collateral damage in his personal beef with the former real-world star. Simply not true. More than once, Punk trashed the WWE's deal with Saudi Arabia.
How many Saudi Arabia shows do they have to do to bring back CM Punk?
I'm not doing a single one.
No, I'm saying how many
I don't know. What's the deal?
They make a lot of money.
This sounds so shady.
Yeah.
During his lengthy time away from the promotion, and I'll tell you what, people change and grow sometimes, and their views on things will alter. He could have acknowledged all of that and said he was wrong, that being in the WWE again, seeing the popularity of the promotion in Saudi Arabia maybe, and the country's slightly more progressive ways these days compared to years gone by, convinced him to step past his disdain for the country and act like a professional and go over there for the show. But no, that would have required some honesty for a change. Just blame The Miz and shake hands with a random fan in the front row. Brilliant! And as we'll see later, this was far from the only moment of embarrassment for old Lockport Phillip in the land he finally agreed to go to. Oh, anyways, before we get into this show, important public service announcement. You might be at a point in your life where you're ready to settle down and get married. And that's great, good for you. And a lot of the time, finding your special someone can take a while. Don't sweat it. Keep looking. And keep looking outwards. Seriously, marrying a cousin is not the way to go. Just because a cousin isn't a sibling doesn't mean they're not still related by blood, guys. Inbreeding can lead to a variety of severe physical and psychological issues in later generations. It's not that hard to find a non-relative to shack up with, surely. Anyways, no clue why that came to me just now, but if you learn anything from today, let it be that. Let's get to the action. Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. Last year, Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against Orton could have been a huge matchup for a PLE. Instead, Rhodes spent an absurd amount of his time as champ stuck in the bloodline vortex, and the feud with Orton was barely even teased. Back in the old days, Rhodes was one of Orton's trusty henchmen in Legacy, and while Ted DiBiase Jr. is gearing up to avoid ever dropping the soap right now, Rhodes has grown into a big star for professional wrestling, for reasons I'm still not entirely sure of. He never really got his win over Randy Orton back then, a key theme that could have been used for a title feud now, with Rhodes as the man of the company, accepting he has to finally defeat his mentor one-on-one to continue solidifying himself as the face of the promotion. Instead, they're meeting here in King of the Ring. Last year, Rhodes' feud with Kevin Owens emphasized how friendships tend to crumble where money and main event glory is concerned. That has been lightly touched on with Rhodes again with this tournament, with him having to defeat his pal, Jey Uso, before moving into this match with his other pal, Randy Orton, everyone's friends here. And on the Friday Night SmackDown just gone, Orton and Rhodes kept talking about their friendship. This is one time it kind of makes sense, given they've been depicted as allies since Orton came back, and they were allies way back in the day as well. But how many more men is Rhodes gonna befriend and love and then wrestle? The dude gets quite corny when he's just heavily overemphasizing, I love you, I respect you. It's just profoundly uncool. Anyways, to the match. Both guys were over, but Orton had the clear popularity advantage, especially as the match wore on, with the Saudi crowd strongly supporting him. Orton is always super over at these Saudi shows. The first portion of this match was largely uneventful, with both men riding off the crowd noise and interest to just kind of coast, until Orton hit Rhodes with a big superplex to get the action moving. Orton sold his bad back throughout the match, frequently reaching for it after hitting moves on Rhodes, suggesting he was not 100% after his reckless attempts to take Rhodes down early. There was an interesting story on paper here that didn't quite land in practice. Since he came back last year, Orton has been playing a more laid-back, good guy version of his old persona, a more good-natured, honourable veteran than the menace to society of his prime years. Here, desperate to get back in the title picture, Orton gradually began showing signs of his old self, including considering punting Rhodes. Rhodes stayed on all fours for longer than a Sabrina Carpenter photo shoot here, delirious as Orton ummed and ahed about booting his old pal's head into next week. By the time he finally worked himself up into giving Rhodes the CTE treatment, it was too late, and Rhodes very awkwardly stumbled his way into slapping the figure four leglock on Randy Orton. The crowd was really into Orton's crisis of conscience moment, but the figure four spot, a move that has not ended a high-profile match since before Ric Flair had the 50-something sagging going on, completely silenced them for a spell. From there, the crowd support for Orton only went up, including loud boos for Rhodes during some punch exchanges. Orton's second slip into dirty fighting proved to be his undoing, with an exposed turnbuckle allowing Rhodes to hit the match-ending crossroads. Based on Orton's facial expressions and body language after the bout, the seeds have been planted for an Orton heel turn on Cody Rhodes down the line. Finally, so I guess he'll turn heel on him in about 3 years, based on Triple H's pace of booking. Rhodes cut a somewhat nice victory promo where that buffoon, Byron Saxton, the worst finisher in wrestling history, I can't be the only one who forgets he still works there, kept holding the microphone too low. Christian Cage would have told him off. Cody Rhodes just politely raised the guy's arm a few times. More than once is unacceptable. Anyway, the promo was perfectly inoffensive, but one word. Character. Rhodes described guys like Jey Uso and Randy Orton as characters. Right, so within kayfabe, these are real people with real personalities. Outside of kayfabe, sure, they're characters. But why exactly is a guy within kayfabe on the show talking like that? Even the mention of Orton being a locker room leader behind the scenes these days was a stretch. This is all unnecessary curtain-pulling in the age of post-kayfabe. So, Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. The pre-match video package worked overtime to sell this beef as a long time coming. Ooh, friends become enemies kind of deal. It would have been nice if they'd gotten to really sell this aspect of the angle in the weeks leading up to the show, but better late than never, I guess. I remember the good old days when video packages just dramatically summarized the feud thus far, instead of filling in the Swiss cheese level of holes in the story. Ripley's outfit tonight kinda reminds me of Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman getup. It's all leathery and stapling. Not even half as awesome as the GOAT Catwoman, of course. Yeah, that's right. Michelle Pfeiffer is still the best. Old but gold. So old I wasn't even born yet when Batman Returns came out, but still gold. Perhaps someone can explain this to me in the comments section. This isn't making fun, I'm actually quite interested. I understand the female performers dress modestly in Saudi Arabia for cultural and religious reasons, okay. What I'd like to know is why the men don't. As far as I'm aware, from the navel to the knee is meant to be covered in public on a man within these laws and ideals traditionally. And yet the men are free to parade around in their undies. Even CM Punk, who many of us would prefer, did cover up. Covered up his midsection, his legs, his arms, his face. Put sunglasses over his eyes. In general, just be covered. Why are the rules here not tit for tat from gender to gender? I hope there's more to it than what I implied last time I did a Saudi event video. Anyways, the story of the bout was fairly straightforward, as Rodriguez used her size to dominate the early stretch of the bout, beating Ripley up, tying her up in the ropes, and just being a menace. The problem is she seriously lacks in charisma and intensity, so the sadistic mean streak she needed to sell being a great big bully just wasn't there. The crowd livened up a lot when Ripley made her comeback, including flogging Rodriguez and planting her with the razor's edge. But then it hit. Dirty Dom's allegedly of age side piece, I'm still not convinced, got involved, getting Big Raquel back in the driver's seat. Ripley as a babyface in peril was odd to see after being presented as a powerhouse for so long, but her selling was decent and the crowd were very much behind her. As much as the crowd got invested when Ripley was making her comebacks, there was dead silence for much of Rodriguez's control periods. Now the finish, big riptide, off of a table, off the top rope. Cool bump, believable match ender, sure. Chekhov's gun dictates that when you introduce something major, like a gun, it has to be fired. In wrestling, that applies to a table. Bring it in, we all want to see it break. Very disappointing bit of cock teasing with the big wood there. But hey, at least there's no Slim Jim logo here for a change. Alright, Karrion Kross in his first match that wasn't on main event, so first match on a show people might actually watch in months, versus Sami Zayn. So discount Sean O'Haire has been tormenting Sami Zayn on and off backstage for months. There's been tension, both competitive and, dare I say, homoerotic, as the pair constantly stand very close together and talk in whispers and aggressive tones to one another. As we all begin to wonder, is Scarlett okay with this? Are these two gonna make out? What's really going on here? We've come a long way from Zayn being suspiciously absent from these Saudi shows. Here, he was very over, and dressed in some traditional garb for that hot Arabian sun, even though it was nighttime. And indoors, I think. Right, good. Carrying Cruss has great facial expressions, including a suitably creepy psycho smile, and he's a good talker if he could just be booked like an actual wrestler and have matches that weren't painfully dull to watch. He really could be a somebody in this promotion. He went for another up-close, very close, face-to-face with Zayn early on, but Zayn is not ready to embrace his true feelings, especially in a country where it could mean prison time or having your head removed. So he shoved Cruss away immediately. Fun moment where Zayn went for a dive, but cancelled it gracefully with a slick moonsault back into the ring when Cruss ran out of dodge. The problem here was the camera didn't even try to catch Cruss backing away, so the moment was slightly sullied for viewers at home. Wade Barrett likened Cruss and Scarlett to Mickey and Mallory Knox. Natural Born Killers is a truly excellent film if you haven't seen it, criminally underrated these days, a brilliant satire of the media's unhealthy obsession with death and violence, among numerous other rated R topics. The story here largely revolved around Cruss using his superior size and strength and mind games to slow Zayn down and control the pace of the bout. Wade Barrett was working overtime to try and really sell the angle, as Michael Cole, as per usual, just sleepwalked listlessly through calling the bout. No energy, no sense of urgency, no interest, nothing real good to say. All he knows is that Sami Zayn will do a Blue Thunderbomb at some point, because it's one of the few move names he actually knows. At one point, Zayn made a comeback with an exploder suplex, and he just held Cruss there for a while as Scarlett yelled no, and Cruss just stayed still. He didn't even try to make it look like he was resisting getting thrown into the corner. At least try to make it look like a fight. Come on, make it look like a struggle. Anyways, absolutely hilarious finish. Cruss was trying to do some amateur theatre, angrily demanding Zayn admit he's a liar. Is he a liar, really? In kayfabe, I don't know about that. It's a bit odd. Cruss was jogging back and forth, hitting Zayn with lariats, when Zayn just came back from that and nailed him with a haluva kick. Cruss looked like an absolute buffoon here, a moron, in yet another nail in the coffin of the claims he might get a push soon, thanks to one interesting shoot promo during a chat with Sam Roberts a few months back. Alright, next up, Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa. It's the battle of the Fat Boys. And here we are with the feud where one man got hurt feelings over another man's silly joke behind his back. Let me tell you, if everyone reacted to a bit of two-faced humour the way Jacob Fatu did in this storyline, friendships and family would not exist. This angle, something that had a lot of promise earlier this year, has been rushed into the blood feud territory a bit soon, especially odd given Triple Nose books in slow motion normally. Sakoa is now the victim, really, a man terrorized by a relative. He helped get a job and helped retain his US title back at Backlash. No gratitude at all because he made one stupid joke. Despite being the big maniac of the two, Fatu started this match on the back foot, with Sakoa getting to show his aggressive side for the first time in months. The story here showed Sakoa with a superior ring IQ, having much of Fatu's offense well scouted, and being able to slow the big man down and control the match, taking time to make fun of Fatu's spazzy movements and talk trash as he worked on the spitting, drooling Samoan werewolf. And then, frankly, I was a bit distracted from the drool Fatu had going on, just glaringly awful as a colour contrast to his beard. Someone needs to have a word in the back. Drink more water and keep your spit to yourself. Good grief. Fatu did his all gas, no brakes line. I have to point out he did hit the brakes to say that. And it wasn't that over here either. Tonga Loa, the legend himself, is back. Pretty big pup. When everyone realized it was him. Him and Jeff Cobb ran down to help Sakoa out. And actually, in reality, outside of kayfabe, helped Jacob Fatu get some babyface sympathy with the numbers game. Fatu planted Sikoa's goofy henchman with a brilliant Fosbury flop, spot of the match by far. And Hikuleo, only well over a year since he signed with the promotion, popped up to help Sikoa win, including a big chokeslam on an apparently indestructible announcer's table. Okay. Michael Cole hilariously claimed that Hikuleo was a monster in Japan. The internet exists now. You can't just pretend these things happen. Anyone can look up what his New Japan career was like. He jobbed to Kenta and Chase Owens. And if you don't know who Chase Owens is, keep it that way. He was largely just a happy to be there mid-card babyface. Hikuleo, that is. There are no words for how garbage Chase Owens is. Sakoa winning here was the right call. A loss to Fatu after how this rivalry kicked off would have finished extinguishing the heat he's been losing all year. Now, Jacob Fatu actually has something to come back from, and Solo Sikoa actually has a singles belt to his name. This setback can help Jacob Fatu actually gain some babyface character development. An alliance with Jimmy Uso and chasing Sikoa to get a second US title run should help get Fatu back on track creatively, and ensure the fan interest he has going on isn't wasted. Right, so I was thinking to myself, this is an okay show, I guess it's breezed by, and now we have the main event to look forward to. And then they reminded me there's a Queen of the Ring thing first. Oh, damn it. If ever there was a time for a cheapskate, not many matches, triple nose show, it was now. I'm tired. I've had a long week. The recap for the Queen of the Ring tournament, it just wouldn't end. And then there were the entrances, they wouldn't end either, and the whole thing was making it plain as day that this women's tournament is only there, exclusively, to make Jade Cargill a star, or die trying. Oh, the size difference between these two here was comical, but Cargill being so lumbering and slow in a lot of her movements allowed Asuka to look on the level with her comparatively rapid-fire strikes and attacks. They told the kind of story you'd expect here, as a crafty veteran with superior technique wore down her bigger, stronger, greener opponent, with Cargill occasionally using her strength to plant Asuka and, as vintage Michael Cole would say, create some separation. Fans were behind Asuka throughout. They preferred the person who actually knows how to wrestle. Shocking, who could have seen that coming? With some noticeable booing for Cargill. At one point, Cargill did a kip-up soon after an attack on her knee, and even Michael Cole basically roasted the lack of selling. He pointed out how dumb it was to jump on a bum knee, and he sounded so disappointed too. It was very odd. The match ended on an incredibly awkward, blatantly cooperative Jaded to give Cargill the win everyone predicted she'd get the moment she was announced for the tournament. She gave a victory speech afterwards. Unfortunately, I decided to go and get something to eat. John Cena versus CM Punk. Let us remember, this feud revolves around the heel, making the babyface drop his long-standing moral grandstanding for a shot at the gold, exposing his double standards to the world, and then accurately roasting his overrated legacy while he's at it. It's just, how is John Cena even the heel here? He's just shed new light on the dark side of his old nemesis, who, last time they had some big feuds, was typically out to destroy the company in some way or another. I'd like to shout out some retards in my comments section lately. One claimed no one knew or paid attention to Punk's stance in Saudi Arabia, even though the WWE made it a focal point of this feud, and Saudi fans initially booed Punk for it yesterday before his apology. And also for the spastic mongoloid loser who said we'd all owe Punk an apology when he didn't actually go to Saudi Arabia. Please, in all seriousness, let's put the jokes to a side. Stop hugging the air on this planet for your useless, empty-headed existence, you pathetic delusional mongoloid. How dumb could you be to seriously think a country like Saudi Arabia, who pay WWE a fortune for these shows, a huge amount of money, how stupid do you think you'd have to be to believe that WWE would cuck tease one of their biggest benefactors with a big star going over there only a week or two beforehand to write him off the show? Not only is it false advertising, so it's insulting to fans, it's incredibly insulting to the country paying them all that money. That would never happen. You seriously think TKO or Nick Khan or people like that would allow something so stupid to happen? Of course not. But when you're a dumb merc, you don't think normally, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this moron deleted his comment. I had this fortune teller, gypsy seeing the future moment. Not that I am a gypsy, just to be clear. Not that there's anything wrong with that. where I thought he would delete his comment. I have to remember it so the whole world can remember it. And by the whole world, I mean the 2,000 to 4,000 people who on average might watch a minute or two of this video. Anyways, let's put the real world stuff to the side and just look at this as kayfabe for a second, alright? This is a very interesting feud, one where both men have played quite dark versions of their personas, as a cruel Cena looks to humiliate Punk, while Punk continues to try and be a man of the people and stand up for a promotion he's finally grown to love after a troubled first run many years ago. It's very dramatic, and the promos have largely been strong, and Punk becoming rapper Cena for a night was fun, and an example of giving the old Doctor of Thugonomics a taste of his own trash talk medicine for a change. Basically, just watching as a fan, it's been a strong build, and the most interesting storyline of the heel Cena run thus far. Now, the match itself. Actually, before that, the video package for this match was utterly appalling. Some bland, AI-like narrator gave us a nonsensical rant on yin and yang, trying so hard to be dramatic whilst being a weak, sterile, impotent, uneventful talker. They kept in some lines from CM Punk's classic pipe bomb, but left out Vince McMahon's name. Punk famously said Cena was good at kissing Vince McMahon's rear end, but here, they cut the McMahon name right out of it. And they didn't even cut it out well. It was very blatant. Something was missing from the sentence. Shameful. I'd also like to point out that John Cena's heel entrance is a rip-off of 2010 heel Batista, who had the spotlight entrance after he did a promo demanding the spotlight always be on him. Nothing in Triple Nose era WWE is original. Everything is a rip-off of something from when old Vinnie Mac was in charge. Like last year when AJ Styles did a shameless rip-off of Mark Henry's classic fake retirement promo. Crowd heat was good here, as you'd expect, two wrestlers who actually have name value and star power. Football chants or soccer chants, whatever, all over the shop to start with, and Michael Cole calls it goosebumps inducing. Cole is the kind of guy who would chant, "This is awesome," to a 5-minute SmackDown match provided someone busted out a moonsault. Punk tried to do that headstand out of a leg scissors hold on the mat spot early on. I think he used to do it quite a lot in Ring of Honor. His body said no thank you this time, so we just got him awkwardly hopping side to side while Cena politely waited and watched, rather than attack further. Early portions of the match saw Cena showboating, desperate to get some heel heat, and controlling the match with slow-paced offense and rest holds. He sold the fear of the GTS, not even the move itself, just the fear of getting hit by it, like death, putting more effort into making Punk look like an actual threat in that moment than anyone else has in months. Punk tried AJ Lee's octopus hold a few times, never got all of it, and the crowd went mild. To the shock of no one, Michael Cole had no idea that move was a reference to CM Punk's real-life wife. The commentators seriously tried to act like this was the best Punk's ever been. In kayfabe, he hasn't won a match since, February or something? In reality, anyone who watched his old feuds with guys like Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, and of course John Cena, and if you go before that, Samoa Joe, knows he's a little bit past him, to put it politely. Same goes for Cena, of course. These two tried to work a similar pace to their classic from Money in the Bank 2011, but with the twist of Cena dominating the bout as a heel, including smashing Punk with 3 AAs. Many of the sequences just looked slowed and clumsy compared to these guys' primes, oddly reminiscent of the old man wars between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair back in 1999 WCW in that regard. Cena looks like a flighty fool when he went to get DQ'd with a title belt shot, chickened out, and walked right into a GTS for his troubles. Much like Randy Orton chickening out of hitting the punt hurt him in the opening match as well. Silly, contrived ref bump led to Punk having Cena visually beat. And then it happened. Pride has come to Saudi Arabia officially. The Monday Night Man Lover will wave the rainbow standard over the country. Seth Rollins and his meaty men, his short kings, are in the house. Is this even allowed? I thought Seth Rollins' kind weren't allowed to be so open with their backdoor shenanigans. Let's just call it how it is. I thought that wasn't allowed in Saudi Arabia. That's why the rich ones have to come to the West to satisfy their urges. Anyways, Braun and Bronson horribly botched putting Punk through a table, and then Cena thwarted a cash-in attempt. Now that was fair enough. Obviously the champ would do that. and Barrett tried to play it like this was John Cena turning babyface. He's not saving CM Punk, he's saving his title reign. How is that a face or heel turn? That's just common sense. What is this utter nonsense? Saudi fans started chanting OTC, I think, and yeah, when is Roman Reigns coming back? This show desperately needs him. Penta and Sami Lame got involved. Oh, who cares? This went from an okay old man match to an overbooked mess in rapid order. Punk saved Cena from a Bronson Reed tsunami, leading to Cena hitting Reed with the AA, something Reed sold like it was giving him an epileptic fit. It wasn't bad selling, to be clear, it was just very distinctive. And then it happened. The humiliation ritual was complete. CM Punk was revealed to be retarded. He went for a handshake. Him and Cena had a sweaty, shirtless, middle-aged hug, and Cena broke the fourth wall, looking directly into the camera with a look of both anger and chronic constipation. Hell of a thing. Before going for a low blow, but wait, CM Punk has it scouted. Maybe he doesn't have special needs after all. But Seth Rollins explodes in through the back door, clunking Punk with the briefcase and flattening him with the curb stump, but failing to do much else. He didn't cash in. John Cena wins. And that was dreadful. Not Cena winning, I'm relieved he won, but the way he won, the match, awful. Just terrible. First half of the match was actually quite good. Not bad at all. But the second half, well, back at Backlash, the final match between John Cena and Randy Orton was ruined by a random R-Truth run-in that ruined the bout right as it was reaching its peak. Here, Seth Rollins and half the Raw mid-card did the same damn thing, ruining the final clash between John Cena and CM Punk, two men who tore the house down more than once. Not only is their Money in the Bank 2011 bout one of the best matches of the 21st century, with an incredible build, wild crowd heat, and fantastic storytelling and psychology for over 30 minutes. But they also had one of the best bouts in the history of Monday Night Raw back in February 2013 as well. And while their 2011 feud did fizzle out with some awful booking eventually, the build to Money in the Bank and the match itself are seminal moments in WWE history, and their final bout, rather than a dramatic showcase of a popular feud from yesteryear, was an overbooked bit of hogwash, where every interfering idiot just happens to have their theme song lined up and at the ready before they come storming out. An utterly absurd finale to an intense, quite controversial feud in recent weeks, in a year where Punk frequently has the rug pulled out from under him in big moments, nearly always because of Seth Rollins, weirdly. Now, if you can hear something in the back, some absolute piece of subhuman garbage, it's just pulled up outside, car blaring garbage brain rotten music, so I'm going to go and drop a bowling ball on that car once I'm done recording. This was an okay, if painfully predictable show in many places, with a main event that was going places, until Triple Nose got a bad case of late-stage WCW contrived, overbooked hokum in the world title pitching. Poor form.